This is the official Eminem Iceberg. Eminem is one of the most polarizing rappers of all time, and as such, there's a lot to know about Slim Shady. But just how much is there to know? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today with this Eminem Iceberg. Now, an iceberg chart is just a chart which features the most well-known trivia about a topic at the top and getting more obscure and darker as you go down. And I know most people watch iceberg videos just for all of the weird stuff at the bottom, so that's all I'm going to cover today. Things like Quake 3's official Eminem mod, D12's salsa brand, and Feminem.com. I mean, look, there's an official Eminem show lunchbox. That's so sick, and stuff like that is all we're going to be discussing today. Now, this video is the third and final part in an iceberg trilogy following the career of Eminem, so if you want the full experience, go watch those other two videos first and come back here. As always, I'm going to be using some WWE 2K24 footage of rappers wrestling each other to fill up some of the empty spots in this video. And yeah, I say we just get right into it because we have 90 minutes of stuff to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, for the third and final time, welcome to the official Eminem Iceberg Explained. House of Wax. Starting off, House of Wax is a company which is infamous in the Eminem world, as the company specializes in bootleg Eminem media. House of Wax has released tons of different bootleg content, ranging from CDs, vinyls, cassettes, and DVDs. And on the surface, their products are good quality and seem like genuine, professional Eminem releases. The company itself has been releasing products since the mid-2010s, and they aren't hiding what they're doing by any means, as you can easily find them online, but remember, this is a bootleg company, so be cautious. I've ordered from House of Wax in a few past videos, and I've received some quality products. However, you can find stories online of people receiving empty CD cases and empty cassette cases. House of Wax is currently the biggest Eminem bootlegger in the game, and we're also responsible for the leaking of tons of early Eminem songs. The story goes that DJ Butterfingers gave some guy some CDs of unreleased songs, not knowing that the person he was giving those CDs to was the guy behind House of Wax. And of course, they turned around and made those songs public. Even worse, House of Wax made these fake cassette tapes with the songs and tricked unsuspecting collectors into believing that they were genuine tapes. House of Wax is a company you should be wary of when collecting Eminem, and honestly, you should probably just stay away from the company altogether. Wendy Day. Wendy Day is a woman who founded the non-profit organization, the Rap Coalition. The Rap Coalition helps young, inexperienced artists by educating them and helping them navigate the beast that is the music industry, and ultimately helps them get the best deals possible. Founded in March of 1992, Wendy and the Rap Coalition have helped tons of young artists, a lot of which have blown up into some of the biggest artists in the game. And one of the rappers that Wendy helped out was a young Eminem. Wendy met Eminem at some music industry event, and after hearing him rap, she recognized his talents and wanted to help him get on a label. However, the fact that Eminem was white made it pretty difficult, so Wendy decided to put on an event which could help promote his rhyming abilities, and that event was the 1997 Rap Olympics, aka the event that led to Eminem being discovered by Dr. Dre. And outside of just Eminem, Wendy Day is connected to plenty of other rappers, making her one of the unsung heroes of the hip-hop industry. Donkey Kong. Simply put, Eminem is really good at the old Donkey Kong arcade game. And on March 29th, 2010, he posted a picture on Twitter of his score of 465,000. And assuming this score is legit, Eminem would have been in the top 30 players in the entire world. Now, the Donkey Kong speedrunning community is highly competitive and even received its own documentary in 2007, The King of Kong, which is one of my favorite documentaries ever. The main character of the King of Kong documentary and former world record holder, Steve Wiebe, has stated in a Reddit AMA that Eminem's manager contacted him. He went on to say that they sent him 2 bezels which Wiebe signed and sent back. Basically, Eminem asked Wiebe for his autograph, which is some pretty cool bragging rights. Eminem is currently not on the Donkey Kong leaderboard as he's never formally submitted a score, but he could still probably kick your ass in some Donkey Kong. Zucker am Kaffee. During the promo tour for the release of Relapse, Eminem appeared on the German television series TV Total, which was this late-night TV talk show hosted by Stefan Raab. At the end of the interview, the host drove the stage near the in-house band and asked Eminem to perform a song with him over the old German song, Zucker ein Kaffee. Again, I don't know how to pronounce that. With very little preparation, the band started playing and Eminem started freestyling, with Rab doing the hook of the song. The entire performance is a pretty good watch, as is the entire interview, and it can be found on YouTube with a simple search. Uncensored version of I'm Back. So, on the Marshall Mathers LP track I'm Back, there's a certain line at the start of verse 3 which was censored even on the explicit version of the album. This line makes reference to a certain mass tragedy from 1999 where 13 innocent students lost their lives. This song came out just 1 year after the tragedy, and due to some severe pressure from his label, the line was ultimately censored. Eminem referenced the fact that he had to censor the line on Rap God, and as of the recording of this video, the uncensored version of I'm Back with that line uncensored has never been heard. People have theorized online if the uncensored version even exists and have gone as far as to recreate the uncensored line with AI. Absolute Zero, Eminem. Mondo Media is an animation company best known for their highly graphic series, Happy Tree Friends. However, the company was behind many different animated series, one of which was the animated series Absolute Zero. Absolute Zero was this outlandish parody show of music interview shows where the host would interview a musician, and that musician would often be voiced by an impersonator. One episode of the show is said to have parodied Eminem, however, this episode is considered lost media. And actually, only 11 of the 32 episodes of the show have ever been archived, with the remaining 21 episodes being considered lost media as well. You can find a page about the show on the Lost Media Wiki and a few screenshots of episodes. So, if you're up for a challenge, go find that lost Eminem episode and send it to me. And if you do that, I'll PayPal you $25. Cleaning Out My Closet was a bizarre track. Cleaning Out My Closet is a classic Eminem track from The Eminem Show. Eminem also made the beat for the song, however, when he was originally making it, it was intended to go to Bizarre. During a 2015 interview, Kaniva expanded on this idea and stated that the track was actually intended for D12's Devil's Night album, saying, "We had the song first, and actually, Bizarre was on the song first, and he was talking some crazy shit, and the whole group was like, yo, you can't say this shit. It's too much." So, he got a call from Dr. Dre, and Dre was like, "Say that shit, man, you gotta say it, blah blah blah." But after a while, he ultimately gave in to the group and was like, you know what, f it, man. Eminem went on to confirm this during his interview on Crook's Corner, however, he didn't recall the exact circumstances behind him taking the song for himself. Fame. Since we're talking about D12, we might as well take some time to talk about Fame. Fame is an underground D12 track included on the Return of the Dozen Volume 2 mixtape in 2011, and this song is notable for actually featuring Eminem. This track was Eminem's first interaction with D12 since D12's second studio album, D12 World, and was a welcomed reunion by those who knew about the track. This track was originally leaked on the Straight From the Lab Part 2 bootleg, but later included on this D12 mixtape, making the song officially released. The thing is though, not too many people seem to know about the song, and those that do seem to be unaware that it's an officially released D12 track. Couch Potato music video. Back on part 1 of this iceberg, we discussed the Weird Al parody track Couch Potato, which parodied the classic track Lose Yourself. The Couch Potato song was the lead single from the Poodle Hat album and was originally intended to have a music video to accompany the song. The music video production was underway when, seemingly out of nowhere, word got back that Eminem was not going to allow the video to be made. Weird Al spoke on the canceled video in an interview, saying, Eminem was fine with me having the parody on my album, but said he was afraid that a Weird Al video might detract from his legacy, that it would somehow make people take him less seriously as an important hip-hop artist. Weird Al was disappointed by the video's cancellation, and in response to the situation, he included a mock interview with Eminem as part of one of his TV specials. Weird Al took footage from a real Eminem interview, but cut in clips of him asking funny questions, including a jab at the fact that Eminem canceled the video. Eminem later wrote about the mock interview in The Way I Am, and actually took it pretty well, saying, Weird Al also got me. He made a video, did a fake interview with me, spliced it with clips from my old interviews, and put it up on the internet. He's a very funny motherfucker. When something like that happens, you have to sit back and say, oh, he got me. It's something you pick up from battles. you learn to be a good sport about a lot of stuff. If you want to dish it out, you gotta be able to take it. It was said that the music video would have seen Al parodying some of the most famous scenes from all of Eminem's music videos, and I can't help but loathe Eminem for not allowing the video to be made because Weird Al is God. Lost Relapse Sessions. Relapse was the 6th studio album for Eminem, released in May of 2009. It's said that Eminem had around 300 unreleased and unmastered songs, all in various stages of production created for the album. However, it's important to state that this number was just an estimate given by some guy who was going off of what he was told, so truly, he wouldn't know. And even if he was accurate, some of these songs could have been separate versions of the same song, similar to the Detroit basketball thing we discussed in the previous Iceberg. However, a significant number of tracks have leaked from this era, all of which sound pretty close to a finished product, so that proves that Eminem does have some completed songs in the vault. However, it is unknown just how many of these recordings there are, and if we're ever going to hear them. Angry Blonde. Angry Blonde is a book written by Eminem, released in 2000. The book is kinda like an autobiography, and is M commenting on songs and lyrics from his career, mostly songs which have received controversy. Eminem uses the book as his way to express his outlook on these tracks, as well as a chance to tell the reader exactly what he meant by what he said in his music. Some of the songs you'll find commentary on are The Way I Am, The Real Slim Shady, and the infamous track Kim. Despite mixed reviews, the book has some great insight into his thought process on the lyrics, and is worth checking out for any fan. The Singles Box Set. Back in 2003, Eminem released an 11-disc CD box set, with each disc being a CD single of some of his biggest tracks. Rapid fire, the CD singles included in this set are Bizzness, Stan, Sing for the Moment, The Way I Am, Lose Yourself, The Real Slim Shady, Cleaning Out My Closet, Guilty Conscience, Without Me, My Name Is, and Eminem's remix of 50 Cent's Wanksta. The set also included a poster, and yeah, it's just a bunch of Eminem singles all in one set. It'll cost you a couple $100 to add this to your collection, but it's a must-have for any CD collector. Bugs. Finishing Tier 6, we have Detroit rapper and early D12 member Carnell Pitts, aka Bugs. In 1996, when Proof set out to create D12 with other underground Detroit MCs, one of the rappers he asked to join the group was Bugs. Bugs was close friends with everyone in D12 and a solid addition to the group. It's even said Bugs would often act as the group leader, so yeah, Bugs was the man. Bugs made his official debut as a member of the crew on the 1997 debut EP, The Underground EP, featuring on 6 of the 10 tracks. Bugs also had a pretty good little solo career going for himself, releasing an EP in 1999. And he seemed to be going in the right direction with his career. However, on May 21st, 1999, before an appearance with Eminem, Bugs was involved in a heated argument at a park, which ended with Bugs being shot 3 times. On top of that, Bugs was then hit by a car, which ultimately ended his life before he ever even arrived at the hospital. Everyone in the group was crushed by this and were left devastated by the news, as were plenty in the Detroit music scene. As for D12, one of Bugs' final requests prior to his passing was to include rapper Swifty McFay in D12. And in honor of their fallen friend, they did exactly that. On top of that, Bugs' passing would lead Eminem to formally asking to join D12 to fill in the hole that Bugs left when he passed away. And obviously, D12 said yes. All of this led to the D12 we know today, and they've gone on to address Bugs and his passing in the track Good Die Young, as well as including a Bugs verse on the skit prior to the track. Eminem dedicated the Marshall Mathers LP to Bugs and also went on to memorialize Bugs at the end of the Like Toy Soldiers music video. With it being said that the hospital scenes throughout the video are referencing the passing of Bugs, all in all, Bugs could have and would have gone on to make a name for himself as he had some legitimate bars. It's a shame we never got a chance to see him reach his full potential. Green and Gold. Okay, so starting off Tier 7, we have this pretty mysterious Eminem feature from a song titled Green and Gold, from a rap group ironically named The Anonymous. The song itself is actually fully archived and it's pretty good quality, but that isn't why I find the song so mysterious. The reason the song is so mysterious is because I can't find much of anything about the song's creation. The Anonymous seem to have been a relatively small rap group, and the members themselves don't seem to have any prior connections to the Detroit hip-hop scene, as they were a group based in LA. The only reason this entry isn't any lower on the iceberg is because the song and the EP it's on are both fully available on Spotify and Apple Music, and the record is still readily available to buy on eBay and Discogs. The Shadiest. The Shadiest is a 1999 bootleg mixtape consisting of tons of early, rare Eminem materials. The cassette mixtape was somewhat popular back in the 90s and early 2000s, with the mixes finding their way online and gaining some decent exposure in the process. In the mid-2010s, some people began looking for the lost mixtape again and contacted its creator, a man named DJ Risky Bizzness. Risky Bizzness posted the full mixtape on SoundCloud, and he took the upload as an opportunity to explain the mixtape, saying, "So recently I've had some people ask me about the Eminem mixtape The Shadiest that I released back in '98 with some help from my buddy DJ Q. So here's the story. Back in '98, I was going to Detroit to meet up with DJ Head, trading dope local Michigan stuff, and I would bring him local Chicago artists. Now, Head was Eminem's DJ and had produced most of the Slim Shady EP. Em had already made his buzz in the underground and was recording a new album. When I got to Detroit, me and Head were in his basement talking about Eminem's buzz and what was going down, and he said Em was about to be signed, and I was like, word. I was like, cool. I was like, I just got this new gear and wanted to do a mix of some of the underground M stuff. So I drove home with a bunch of demos and figured I would throw them together in a mixtape release and then give it out to my homies. I never imagined Eminem or the mix would get big. LOL. Keys to the City. Keys to the City is an unreleased song from Eminem and DJ Premier, which is said to have been meant for the King Mathers album. DJ Premier is a producer that Eminem has worked with before, and the first thing they worked on together was Keys to the City. Primo discussed the track in an archived interview with Hip Hop DX, saying that Eminem had actually made the entire Keys to the City track on his own, but he wasn't thrilled with it. So he contacted DJ Premier, who took the song and remixed it. But alas, the song never came out, and remains one of the holy grails of Eminem lost media to this very day. Primo commented on the song a few years back on a Discord Q&A and basically said he has no idea what the song's status is, so who knows if we'll ever get to hear it. And if two versions of one lost song isn't enough for you, it's also been said that there's a third version of the song featuring rapper Stat Quo. There's even been a supposed leak of a couple of seconds of the Stat Quo version that you can find online. And while we're speaking of Eminem lost media, Dear Ronnie. Dear Ronnie is a lost song which was originally meant for the Marshall Mathers LP, but was ultimately scrapped. Back on the first Eminem Iceberg, we discussed Eminem's Uncle Ronnie, who introduced Eminem to rap music and recorded Eminem's first rap songs ever with him when they were literal children. Eminem and Ronnie were best friends growing up. However, in 1991, at only 19 years old, Ronnie took his own life. Fast forward to 2000. Eminem is preparing to release the Marshall Mathers LP, and during the recording process, created a song titled Dear Ronnie. The song was about his uncle and even included samples of their recordings from their childhood. However, when Eminem asked his aunt, aka Ronnie's mother, for her permission to use the song, for whatever reason, she said no. Eminem's mother even stated in her book that she threatened to sue Eminem if he ever used those recordings. Eminem obliged and scrapped the song from the album, and as of the recording of this video, that song has never been released. Dear Ronnie is one of those songs that really makes you wonder, as I'm very curious how a 2000s Eminem would have responded to the loss of one of his closest friends and family members. Hush. MC Hush is a Detroit-based rapper who was good friends with Eminem during their come-ups. Now, Hush had met Eminem in passing once or twice, but his first real interaction with Eminem was during Eminem's beef with Champtown. The story goes that Eminem's ex-wife Kim secretly recorded a phone call with Champtown where Champ was making advances at her, despite knowing she was with Eminem. Now, Champ and Hush were best friends and roommates at this time, and following the voicemail, they had a few run-ins with Eminem. This ultimately led to Eminem and Hush getting into a brutal fistfight with one another outside of Eminem's home, with both parties doing some pretty good damage to one another. Hush and Champtown left without further incident, but as fate would have it, Hush attended a show at St. Andrew's Hall later that week. And of course, Eminem was also there. However, instead of another fight popping off, Eminem and Hush talked to one another where Eminem told Hush that he understands he was just sticking up for his friend. However, he needed Hush to realize that Champ was legitimately trying to get with Kim. Eminem even told Hush that he could play the voicemail for him, which Hush was interested in hearing. So they went to his car where Eminem played him the tape. Now, Hush said he wasn't sure about how authentic the voicemail was and is still somewhat skeptical of its authenticity, but he has said that from what Eminem played him, it did indeed sound like Champ was trying to holler at Kim. Anyways, this led to Hush and Eminem squashing their beef, and after that, they actually became pretty good friends. With Eminem featuring on multiple Hush tracks during that period, and Hush being around for a lot of Eminem's early come-up. A few years later, even after Eminem had become a household name, he still had some sort of friendship with Hush, appearing on Hush's 2005 album Bulletproof, as well as producing 2 tracks from that album. One of those tracks was Hush Is Coming, which also had its own music video, which also just so happened to feature a prominent cameo from Eminem. Eminem and Hush's friendship is a pretty large rabbit hole to go down, as Hush has plenty of stories about his experiences with Slim Shady, which are too many to cover here because we'd be here all day. There's also an extended interview you can find where Hush talks about the Champtown stuff and other Eminem related stories, as well as his own personal career. It's also worth noting that the alleged Champtown voicemail was later included on the fucking Backstabber cassette tape as the opening track for the EP. So, if you're curious to hear what Eminem played for Hush, you can go listen to it right now. Makusa. So we've discussed the Outsidaz multiple times throughout these icebergs, and yet another piece of the Eminem Outsidaz lore is the song Makusa. Makusa is a rare Outsidaz track featuring Eminem, which was never included on any of their EPs or albums, and was only ever released on vinyl 2 separate times in 1999. And neither of these vinyls were ever made for sale. These records were instead given out as promotional materials for the Outsidaz, and despite never being originally for sale, you could still find the records pretty easily. And since we're speaking on the Outsidaz, Dear Shady by Young Z. Back on the first iceberg, we discussed how Eminem addressed his strained relationship with Outsider members Young Z and Pace One on the track Fine Line. Well, in response to Eminem's verse about the Outsidaz, Young Z released a track titled Dear Shady, which was accompanied by a music video. The song addresses Eminem by name and tells Eminem about how he's been since they last spoke. Throughout the track, it's made clear that Z seems to have a bit of resentment towards Shady. Z holds nothing back, and it doesn't feel like a diss, but more of like an old friend who's disappointed at the choices Eminem made, while still respecting his rhyming ability. The track is a great listen, as it really is an open letter from an old friend to Shady, and the full video can be found on YouTube. It's also worth noting that Pace One, the other main member of the Outsidaz we discussed previously, also released a track addressing Eminem after Fine Line dropped. However, Pace seemed to hold no grudges or resentment, and instead took the chance to reminisce about his time with Shady, ultimately saying he just hopes to speak with him again one day. That track is titled He Said It, and can be found on YouTube. Now, just a few years ago, another member of the Outsidaz, As Is, released multiple diss tracks at Eminem, accusing him of stealing his style and ditching all of his old friends once he found fame. Young Z commented on these disses, hardcore disagreeing with As Is and saying the following: I don't feel that way, because Eminem put me on mad. As Is never did a tour with Eminem. I did 8 tours. He put me on 8 Mile soundtracks, D12. I made millions of dollars with Eminem. Literally millions of dollars. He don't owe me nothing else. I don't owe him nothing. We are just 2 people who rhymed. We know each other. We respect good rapping. That's it. He don't owe me nothing. I don't owe him nothing. Renegade by Bad Meets Evil. So Renegade is the legendary track featuring both Eminem and Jay-Z, which was featured on Jigga's 6th studio album, The Blueprint. The track has gone down as one of Eminem's best guest verses, but one fact about the song that not too many people seem to know is that the track was originally intended to be a Bad Meets Evil song. You see, Royce da 5'9" was working on his debut album Rock City and recorded 2 separate tracks with Eminem intended for the album, which were Renegade and another song titled after the album named Rock City. However, Royce was told by higher-ups that he could only have one Eminem feature on his album. So Royce chose to keep the Rock City track, leaving their version of Renegade in the vault for the time being. Eminem was later contacted by Jigga, who wanted Eminem to produce and feature on one of his tracks. Now, Eminem actually created an entirely separate track that he intended to give Jay. However, Eminem was unable to get said track since it was in a totally different city at the time. Remember, this was early internet days, so Eminem was still recording on physical reels instead, with the reel he needed literally being across the country. Jay-Z had a deadline, so Eminem had to think of something quick, and ultimately asked Royce if he would be okay with Eminem giving the Renegade track to Jay. Royce was okay with it, so Eminem removed Royce's verses, tweaked his verse slightly, and then sent it over to Jay-Z. Jay recorded his verse, sent it back to Eminem to produce it, and that's the song we know today. However, that original Bad Meets Evil version ended up leaking a few years later and was included on the Lyrical Smackdown mixtape from DJ Butter, the same DJ who put out that Poop mixtape we discussed in the last video. Ultimately, it's probably better Jay-Z got the track because the track's fire. XTC. Ecstasy is this song which a user on the forum section80.com said exists in some capacity. However, there has never been any evidence that this song actually existed. The song was said to be Eminem and fellow rapper Xzibit, however, that is literally all that's known about the supposed track. I couldn't even find the supposed Section 80 post, so the odds that this one is real is slim to none. I don't want to end this topic on a boring note, so I'll add this unrelated tidbit. You can find footage on YouTube of Eminem taking some of the name of this song with proof during a concert on YouTube. Make sure to go archive that video before it inevitably gets taken down. Steppin' on the Scene EP. Steppin' on the Scene is an EP released by Basement Productions in 1990. The tape featured 6 tracks, 3 from Eminem and 3 from Chaos Kid, with both getting their own side of the tape. Stepping on the Scene is only one of 2 releases from Basement Productions, with the other release being included on the next tier. And since we're talking about these early tapes, we might as well also discuss Soul Intent EP. The Soul Intent EP is a cassette EP released in 1992 from Soul Intent. The cassette tape is often referred to as the Eminem solo tape, as this cassette only features songs from Eminem as the main rapper. According to DJ Butterfingers, this was Eminem's first official solo release. This cassette has become one of the rarest official Eminem physical media releases, so much so that I couldn't even find an official picture of the cassette tape online. There are only a handful of these tapes floating around, and I honestly wouldn't hold my breath for another one to pop up anytime soon. The D12 merch store. D12 with Eminem is basically the only version of D12 that the average Eminem fan is aware of. However, the group has been going strong since 1996, and despite Eminem announcing the end of D12 at the end of the track Stepping Stone, the truth is that the group is still somewhat active in 2024, with a few members still going on tours and doing shows. On top of that, there's actually an active D12 merch store that you can go visit right now. From apparel to media to random accessories, this store has a lot to offer. And one of the main things sold on this store is official D12 salsa. And seeing as how I'm an awesome video maker, I actually ordered some to give you guys a first-hand look and to see if it was even good.
Yeah, goodness gracious. It's good packaging. Show us your salsa. Send us your snaps and videos. Or slide into our DMs. Should I do that? Should I do that? Tell you guys this, if you're worried about your salsa breaking in transport or something, it won't. Hey, shout out to D12 for their really good packaging. Yeah! Goodness gracious. And there you go. Kaniva and Swifty McFay of D12 present salsa. Ooh. We're going to try some of this salsa. I mean, it tastes like salsa. And if you decide to order some of this salsa, put in like their little promo box or whatever that I sent you. Maybe they'll send me a free hoodie or something.
Three-Headed Monster. There's this mystery in the Eminem community surrounding a supposed music video for this mysterious song titled Three-Headed Monster. The mystery began when James Laurice, the man who directed several Eminem music videos, posted a photo of himself on top of the Empire State Building. He then posted an Instagram story which featured a piece of paper with notes from his mysterious shoot, And at the bottom of the pic, you can see the words Three-Headed Monster. Now, Three-Headed Monster is the nickname for M, Dre, and 50. So fans started speculating that perhaps a music video of some sort featuring all three was getting prepped to come. Fans even reported seeing helicopters flying all around the Empire State Building on the night of the shoot, which only furthered speculations. All the speculations were eventually settled though when, a week or so later, Jimmy Kimmel premiered a live music video performance for Eminem on his show. The performance was for the song Venom and featured Eminem walking to the top of the Empire State Building, performing the track the entire way up. And it just so happens that this video was produced by James Larice, meaning this shot list was more than likely meant for that shoot. The nod to the Three-Headed Monster might confuse someone as neither Dre or 50 appear in this video. However, it's probably just the fact that they were originally intended to be in the video and their parts got scrapped. It's never been officially confirmed if that's the case, so I guess there's a chance there's some secret three-headed monster project we never saw, but I'd say it's a pretty safe bet that they just had their parts cut. Shady Wars. With the final entry of Tier 7, Shady Wars was a mobile game developed in association with Shady Records. The game was released in 2015 and actually featured a good amount of Eminem songs from both the Marshall Mathers LP2 and Shady XV. The game was a rhythm game where the player would have to tap along to the lyrics of Eminem's songs to progress through the levels. There's also a tech support Twitter page for the game which features some extra pics and videos from fans playing the game. And it seems as if the game did pretty well on the App Store. Sadly though, the game has since been removed from said app stores. However, I've found a few websites which claim to have downloads for it. I'm not 100% sure if these sites are legit, so this game might be considered lost media, but I'm not going to risk downloading it because those sites seem kind of sketchy. Liners. Liners is this rare Eminem CD which contains 4 tracks, all of which are these short promotional tracks featuring Eminem promoting Encore. Like, you remember when you would listen to the radio and you would hear artists promoting what you're hearing and promoting their albums and all that? Well, this CD is full of those. Liners was never made available for sale and was instead sent out to radio stations to play during the build-up to Encore and has since become one of the rarest Eminem CDs. The Christopher Reeves Song. Back on the original Iceberg, we discussed deceased actor Christopher Reeves. Reeves was an actor best known for playing Superman in the 70s, but in 1995 suffered a tragic horse riding accident which left him paralyzed. And, for whatever reason, Eminem has joked about this accident consistently throughout his music. One track that perfectly represents Eminem's mockery of Chris is the track Brand New Dance off the Death of Slim Shady album. The song features Eminem teaching the listener how to do a brand new dance he invented. However, the dance move actually causes whoever performs the move to paralyze themselves in the process. The song also features horse neighs throughout the track, and yeah, it's pretty wild when you understand the references he's making to Reeves. However, there's another story about this track which not many know about, and that's the fact that this song was over 20 years old when it was released, as made apparent later on the album, during Guilty Conscious 2, where Eminem says, "And I know that Chris Reeves' song was recorded in 2004 for Encore. What do you take it off for? 'Cause he man, that motherfucker did that bullshit on purpose just to ruin the song for us." Here, Eminem is telling the listener that the song was originally made for Encore, and if you were to look back at some of the promotional posts about Encore from that time, you'll actually see there was supposed to be a song titled Christopher Reeves on that album. However, just 1 month prior to the album's release, Chris Reeves passed away at 52 years old. And because of this, the song was scrapped and was put into a vault for nearly 20 years. Shady Bizzness. Shady Bizzness, Life as Marshall Mathers' Bodyguard in an Industry of Paper Gangsters, is a self-published book written by Byron Williams, aka Big Naz. Williams was a bodyguard for Eminem from May to December of 1999 and writes about his experiences with Eminem throughout the book. Williams writes about a plethora of topics from drug use to romantic rendezvous with groupies. This might sound like an interesting read. However, Big Naz isn't a reliable source of information by any means, and his book is actually more like one big Eminem hit piece. You see, when Big Naz left the Eminem team, it wasn't on good terms by any means, with Big Naz stating in an interview that he and Eminem even got into an altercation, with both parties brandishing weapons. Big Naz had tons of beef with Eminem when he quit, so he would have plenty of reason to lie throughout his book, and when you read it, it does genuinely seem like a man trying to slander another man's name to get back at him. On top of it, the book was self-published, meaning it didn't have to go through any sort of quality checks for legitimacy or anything like that, only making it less reliable. The book itself has plenty of outrageous claims, one of which we're going to discuss in the final tier of this iceberg. The book is an interesting read, but it's hard to take seriously whatsoever when you know the story behind it. Eminem.com. Eminem's beef with the Insane Clown Posse is amongst his most well-known and most heated beefs of his entire career. Eminem took several shots at ICP throughout his early career, which might make you wonder, how exactly did ICP and the Juggalos respond? Well, for one, ICP gave Eminem the nickname of Feminem. The Juggalos supported ICP throughout their beef, with one fan going as far as to create Feminem.com. Feminem.com was a website which aimed to archive anything that could humiliate or embarrass Eminem, as well as trolling Eminem fans. One of the main things on this site was a forum, which in some parts allowed users without an account to post. This led to Eminem's fans posting on the forum to support Shady, which would lead to the actual members of the forum to troll them and send them tons of hate mail. Feminem.com was actually pretty active for several years, with a pretty dedicated community. And as surprising as it sounds, the website is still up. Now, when I visited the site a few months ago as part of my Insane Clown Posse Iceberg, the website had some information on how the website began and the story of Feminem.com. However, now if you visit Feminem.com, you'll be met with a page rubbing in the fact that Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election. Feminem.com, to my knowledge, was the biggest Eminem hate site ever, and is still sending shots at Eminem to this very day. The pre-up. Mick Boogie is a legendary DJ who has worked with plenty of big names throughout his career. And Mick worked very closely with Eminem on this mixtape, which featured some new material and other skits from plenty of people in the Shady camp. The project was released to positive reviews, including being named one of the best mixtapes of the year by Rolling Stone. I'm not allowed to say this, but you guys see it on the screen. So that song is an old track which has been online for a really long time. The song has been uploaded several times, often giving Eminem credit, and it's been heard by hundreds of thousands, who more than likely probably believed it was a genuine Eminem track. The track itself has also been incorrectly attributed to a few other rappers and groups too, including Necro and Cypress Hill. The song is believed to have originated from the LimeWire days and was supposedly actually created by a rapper named 100 Guns. But as of the recording of this video, 100 Guns has never been identified and the true artist behind the song has never been confirmed, making this yet another Eminem Lost Wave mystery. Under New Management. Under New Management / Cold Room on this deafened tape is an extremely rare home release from Basement Productions, aka Soul Intent, released in 1990, when Eminem was only 16 years old. The project was released on cassette tape, with a very small amount of these ever being made. The tape featured 13 tracks, several of which are solo Eminem songs, with the rest coming from other Soul Intent members. The tape didn't feature any cover art and was instead handwritten on a black cassette, and has become highly sought after for any collector. And since we're talking about rare physical media, the censored Devil's Night CD. Devil's Night is the debut album from D12, released on June 19th, 2001. The CD sold very well, with nearly 400,000 copies sold in the first week alone. However, there's a very rare version of this CD which has become highly sought after for collectors. You see, most of Eminem's releases at this time also released censored variants of the album, which would cut out all of the naughty curse words. As such, Devil's Night was intended to have its own clean version, with a run of the clean CDs being made and ready for sale. However, the project was scrapped altogether for an unknown reason. But despite being scrapped, a very small amount of these CDs found their way into stores in Europe, and have since become a very rare piece for anyone's Eminem collection. I've seen estimates that there are as little as 50 of these CDs to exist, with copies being listed for hundreds of dollars. And since we're talking about D12, the third unreleased D12 album. So D12 has 2 studio albums as of the recording of this video, Devil's Night and D12 World. However, a third studio album for D12 has been teased multiple times in the last 20 years. The first tease came from a TRL interview following the passing of Proof around 2006 or 2007, where they said the third album was coming soon, and that it was going to be a more serious sounding project. However, in this interview, which I can't show because MTV's a frickin' jerk when it comes to copyright, you can tell Eminem wasn't in a good place mentally or physically, as this was the era where he was facing serious addiction issues, as well as dealing with the passing of Proof. However, outside of their appearances on the Re-Up and a leaked song meant for Relapse, D12 fizzled out, at least in the public eye. Despite that, in 2008, D12 started doing mixtapes again and regularly teased the idea of another album coming out eventually. It's also been said that Eminem stated that he was recording content for a third album in an interview in 2009, but I couldn't find that interview for myself. Ultimately, that third album never came to fruition, and in 2012, it was announced that both Mr. Porter and Bizarre were leaving D12. However, the story goes further, as in 2014, Mark Bass confirmed that D12 had been recording together again, which also included some recordings with Eminem. Bizarre went on to confirm this, saying that he was returning to D12 and that a third studio album was in the works. That same year, it was announced that D12 was going to be featured on the Shady XV compilation album, with the project featuring a brand new D12 track titled Bane. The inclusion of Bane on the album excited fans at the prospect of finally getting another D12 album, with D12 continuing to tease that something was coming. Finally, it was announced in mid-2015 that D12 would be releasing a new project titled The Devil's Night Mixtape, which excited plenty of D12 fans as the official D12 reunion was finally happening. The project released on October 30th, 2015, but to the surprise of fans, Eminem was completely absent from the project, despite some of the promotion for the album leading fans to believe that he was a part of the project. Fans were upset by this, however, the following day, the project was deleted and re-uploaded, and now featured a brand new intro of Eminem freestyling a cappella to start the mixtape. This kinda appeased fans, and the project has some really good songs on it. But at this point, D12 had nowhere else really to go from here. Finally, in 2018, Eminem released the album Kamikaze, which included the track Stepping Stone, which was a track addressing and apologizing to the members of D12 and once and for all announcing that D12 was over. This announcement ultimately confirmed that a proper third studio album for D12 was never going to happen, after nearly 20 years of speculation from fans. D12 is still somewhat active in 2024 with an active merch store and small reunions happening between the members. However, the third D12 album, at least with Eminem included, is never going to happen. The Lost Riff Raff Song. Riff Raff is a Texas-based rapper best known for his party rap style with elements of EDM. Riff Raff is a very popular artist, but also very colorful and playful, and he likes to joke around online. On September 11th, 2018, Riff Raff posted this video on his social media pages.
I hate to have to break the news to you. I wasn't gonna say nothing about this Vanilla Gorilla album. Eminem just sent in the vocals. Yeah, Riff Raff Ronnie J album, Vanilla Gorilla. Shout out to Eminem for sending that 12 in.
Now, despite his presentation, Riff Raff actually has some pretty good tracks and some respectable clout as a rapper, so it isn't too far-fetched that Eminem would be interested in a collaboration. However, when the album dropped, an Eminem feature was not included. And, as of the recording of this video, that's all that's ever been said about the Eminem Riff Raff song, with tons of people believing it was all just a joke. However, it is worth noting that Riff Raff and Eminem both worked with the same producer around this time, so there is a connection between the two from around the time Riff Raff claimed that the song was happening. But personally, I believe it was all just a way to build hype for the album. Also, completely unrelated, but if you want to see Riff Raff get booed off stage at the gathering of the Juggalos, then go watch this video on my YouTube channel because it's fucking hilarious. Decisive. Okay, so this entry is pretty personal for me and is easily my favorite topic on this entire list. Back on the first Iceberg, we talked about a song that was attributed to Eminem for the last 20-ish years. Now, I can't say the name of that song for YouTube guideline reasons, but you see it on the screen. However, in the mid-2010s, it was confirmed that Eminem was not actually the voice on this song. About a year or so ago, I created a full video covering the song and talking about how the actual rapper on this track was a mystery. Well, after that video, my research into the track continued, and in August of 2024, A very handsome researcher was able to finally solve the mystery once and for all. That's right, I, Kobe Sucks, solved the mystery behind this song. Now skip forward to this time in the video if you want to not spoil this story, as I made a full video on this topic and I personally think it's my best video I've ever made. I'll give you a few seconds to skip forward to avoid the spoiler. Okay, so I discovered that the voice on this song was most likely a rapper who goes by Decisive. Hailing from Canada, Derek Christoph, aka Decisive, is a rapper who's been in the game longer than I've been alive. Derek has some legitimate clout in the rap game and is truly a really good musician. And the reason I said most likely the voice on the song is because Derek has gone on record to claim that he is not the voice behind this track, going as far as to editing his own Wikipedia page to remove the credit following my video. Now, if you don't understand why you wouldn't want to take credit for the song, it's important to realize that the song featured some lyrics which have aged extremely poorly, so yeah, he probably doesn't want those bars associated with his name. D is actually a pretty cool guy, and I've had a chance to talk with him since my video, and I'm hoping one day to get a full-fledged interview with him, but as of right now, the song kinda hangs in limbo. There's a lot of evidence I present in that video which strongly suggests he's the rapper, but without a proper confirmation with D, the story remains ongoing. Pale Moonlight. Gerald Sanders, aka Strike, was a rapper best known for his role as Lickety Split in 8 Mile. Now, information on Strike is hard to come by online, but Eminem had some sort of interest or respect for him, as Eminem literally bailed Strike out of jail so he could film scenes for 8 Mile. Eminem also recorded a song with Strike in the early 2000s, with a portion of the song being included on a Strike CD sampler in 2005. This song was called Pale Moonlight, and also featured Dinah Ray. Now, the song was supposed to be included on Strike's 2005 album, The Free World, however wasn't included on the project for whatever reason. The song was finally included in full on the 2007 mixtape Unsportsmanlike Conduct, and has since gone down as one of Eminem's least known features. The song is really good and seems like something that could have been created for 8 Mile, but not too much information is known. Pneumonia. With the final entry in Tier 8, we have Pneumonia. As we've discussed previously on this iceberg, Eminem was hospitalized in December of 2007 after he was found unconscious in his bathroom due to an overdose. Eminem spent about a month in the hospital getting better and has been sober ever since. Now, when you learn about this story for the first time, you might want to go back to some old news articles talking about his hospitalization to see what the public response was at the time, right? Well, if you were to do that, you wouldn't actually find any articles covering the overdose. And instead, you'll find plenty of articles talking about how Eminem was recovering from pneumonia. TMZ was the first to cover the hospitalization and spoke to Eminem's publicist, who stated Eminem was under doctor care for complications with pneumonia and didn't mention anything else. This was more than likely because, quite simply, they didn't want people to know what really happened, at least for the time being. Multiple news sites took the pneumonia story at face value and nothing else was ever really said about it. About 2 years later, Eminem released the Relapse album, which addressed his addiction issues head on, especially on the track titled Deja Vu. This track gives us a glimpse into Eminem's addiction, and verse 3 of Deja Vu gives us a look into how Eminem was operating on a day-to-day basis, detailing a serious dependency on pills, and also raps the following line. "'Cause that Christmas, you know that whole pneumonia thing, it was Bologna. Was it the methadone, you think?" In this bar, Eminem admits that the pneumonia thing was a cover-up story, and he's since expanded on this in an interview with Vibe, saying, "The official word was I had pneumonia. Thing is, I really did have pneumonia. I had taken so many pills that my immune system wasn't functioning right. They told me if I would have gotten to the hospital 2 hours later, I would have, because I f***ed my kidneys and liver up so bad. My kidneys had also completely shut down." Again, I can't say this one out loud, but you see it. So for all of the young ones watching that never experienced the late night commercials for themselves, that series was this DVD series which featured regular women getting wild for the camera, with all the footage compiled and sold on DVD. Now, I can't get into too much detail about the DVDs themselves or else YouTube will be mad at me. However, the DVDs were extremely popular and made tons of money for their creators. The series was so big that it regularly featured celebrity guest hosts, including Baby Bash and Snoop Dogg. However, one edition of the series that's never seen the light of day featured Eminem as a guest host. It was reported that the Gone Wild team was accompanying... what the fuck? It was reported that the Gone Wild team was joining Eminem on the anger management tour to get tons of footage of Eminem's female fans along the way. Alas, that DVD never released, and it's never actually been said why. However, if you were to visit the personal website for the creator of that series, he wrote about his time with Eminem, saying, "We signed a deal to tour with Eminem, who was at that time the hottest rapper in the world. Eminem and I had fun on the road, but we didn't enjoy the same chemistry that I had with Snoop. For one thing, because I'm 6'2" and Eminem can't be more than 5'3", we made an awkward pair on camera, and I think it made him feel insecure. Just as we finished editing the show together, Eminem's movie 8 Mile came out to unexpectedly good reviews. I think he imagined he was going to be the next Brad Pitt, so he asked us to scrap the Girls Gone Wild project. Tales from that tour are as insane as anything you've ever heard. Someday, I'll share them with the public." Quake 3. Quake is a first-person shooter initially released in 1996, and has gone down as one of the greatest video games ever made. The video game was created by ID Software, which is the same company which created the classic Doom series. And when you watch Quake gameplay, you can see the similarities. Now, you probably are wondering why this masterpiece of a game is featured on this iceberg. Well, that reason is because Quake 3 just so happened to feature a unique map titled The Chronic, complete with an Eminem and Dr. Dre playable character, and was fully available to download on Eminem's website, as well as Interscope's website as early as 2000. There are downloads of the map still floating around, so if you're willing to take the time to download all the pieces, you can play this map in 2024. Streetlights. Back in 2012, various news outlets, including a Complex article which is still fully available, reported that Eminem was working on a song titled Streetlights with rapper Kendrick Lamar and Harley Quinn herself, Lady Gaga. The articles would attribute their new information about Streetlights to MTV, and included supposed quotes from Eminem talking about how he has, quote, "this crazy record with Gaga and Kendrick for the upcoming LP." But despite multiple sites reporting about the song, it was quickly dismissed as false when MTV News said the entire story was made up. Eminem's manager Paul also posted about the song, confirming the rumors weren't true. As it turns out, some awful news website made up the entire story and falsely attributed it to MTV News to try and drum up some views for their website, and people took the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. It's crazy to think how easy it is for these rumors to take off. Actually, I'll tell you what. If you took the time to watch this entire video and are listening to this right now, let's start a rumor together. Get on Twitter or Instagram or some social media and talk about how good the new leaked Eminem song featuring Melanie Martinez is. Don't mention this iceberg video or anything like that. Just act like there's a new leaked track out there and don't respond to anyone who asks you about it. Let's see if we can get that rumor to pick up. Say the track is called Sunflowers. Don't Chew With Your Mouth Full. Don't Chew With Your Mouth Full is a forgotten Eminem Soul Intent song said to have been recorded by Eminem when he was just 16. The song appears on the Under New Management tape we discussed a bit earlier, and even though the tape features separate forgotten Eminem tracks, this track is the most complete in terms of sounding like an actual song. The song features a pretty good flow for a 16-year-old, and while the track itself isn't a banger, you can definitely hear what would eventually become the Eminem we know today, the Bad Meets Evil Facebook game. Eminem is no stranger to lost games, as on this iceberg we've discussed the Lost Puzzle game, which was completed but never released. We also discussed Relapse Resistance, the iPhone game which was only ever available for a short period of time before being removed from the App Store. Well, what if I told you there's actually a third lost Eminem game? So back in 2011, following the release of Bad Meets Evil Hell the Sequel, they teamed up with some company named Grab to release a Facebook game. This game was officially announced in the description of the Fastlane music video, with that announcement still there to this day. The game was titled Bad Meets Evil and allowed players to listen to music and watch videos and stuff while unaliving people to gain points. Once the player got enough points, they would get sent to hell. Other than that, I can't find much else about the game. You can find people online reminiscing about the game and even footage of some people playing it, but as of right now, the game is unavailable to play. Bad Meets Evil the game has become lost media, and since it was only ever released on Facebook, there's really no way of ever recovering it, meaning that it's more than likely gone forever. Mashin' Duck Records. Mashin' Duck Records is an obscure record label connected to some early Eminem work. You can find the label credited on the fucking Backstabber cassette single, and as far as I can tell, that's it. No other musical works, not only from Eminem but literally any other artist, has ever been linked to Mashin' Duck Records, making it a pretty big mystery in the world of Eminem. Now, the Bass Brothers Wikipedia states that they were involved in the label, but it doesn't say how. And a member on my Discord server found a comment from DJ Butterfinger saying it was formed in 1994 and alludes to the idea that they were behind the label. But other than that, I have no other information about Mashin' Duck. Amsterdam. If you've made it this far, you're well aware of the Marshall Mathers LP and what it did for Eminem, and the entirety of the hip-hop genre. However, this album almost had a very different title, as this album was originally intended to be named Amsterdam. The reason behind this was that during a trip to Amsterdam with Dre to perform, Eminem was stunned by the city, and actually recorded portions of the album during his time there. But during his time in Amsterdam, Eminem had a rough experience with a Dutch journalist who made Eminem so mad during an interview, he wrote 4 songs about them on the plane ride home. Alas, the name was eventually changed and we got the Marshall Mathers LP instead. Cage Beef. Christian Palco, aka Cage, is a New York rapper who has been in the game since 1991. Cage has never been a household name, but during the 90s was heavily involved in the New York rap scene. Just to give you an idea of how involved he was, it's been reported that he was hanging out with both MF Doom and his brother DJ Subrock the night that Subrock lost his life. So yeah, Cage was a somebody in the rap game. Cage's style was very horrorcore-esque, bringing some great bars and punchlines along with it, getting him some decent attention in the process. However, around that same time, Eminem was also on the come up and was also slowly building to the release of the Slim Shady EP. However, Eminem was also bringing a very horrorcore-esque style that was very similar to Cage's. And there's even a few cases of Eminem saying the same exact punchlines that Cage had said prior, such as what you're seeing on the screen right now. When Eminem released the Slim Shady EP in 1997, one of the songs featured the line, "I'll bite your motherfucking style just to make it fresher," which people believe could be Eminem straight up admitting to taking the style. Cage believed this too and started going on New York radio shows to diss Eminem. And Eminem fired back at Cage on the track Microphone Autopsy, which we'll discuss in the next tier more in depth. Eminem took a few more jabs at Cage and went as far as to get in contact with one of his producers, fellow rapper and horrorcore legend Necro. Necro told the story of meeting up with Eminem in an old video and said that Eminem invited Necro to kick it. And once he got there, he asked Necro about Cage.
My brother was like, yo, M on some beats, go meet up with him. So I went up to a place called 88 Hip Hop, and Eminem was there. And I was kicking it with him, and, I was like, what up? You know what I'm saying? He was cool. And he was real concerned about Cage, like, man, like, he thought maybe I was still down with Cage because he had beef with Cage. So he was like, you still with Cage? And I'm like, nah, I don't with that dude. That dude's corny. And he was like, oh, okay, because I'm looking for him. I was like, really? You looking for him? He's like, yeah, He talked, and he said he was going to Cage up.
After this, Cage released the track 4-Letter Word, which was his first official Eminem diss. The track not only referenced Eminem's meeting with Necro, but also took shots at Haley, who was a literal infant at the time of the song's release. Cage's diss caused Eminem to respond on a radio show with a freestyle, and later on another radio show, he spoke on Cage again.
Now, the other question that somebody was asking is something about a kid named Cage. There's another guy named Necro. They're two different? Well, they said that the guy named Cage that you battled, can you give me the background on that? Because I just found out about this.
Actually, I never got a chance to battle him because every time I showed up to battle him, he backed out. He wasn't there. He was nowhere to be found.
This Cage kid wouldn't show up?
Age kid. Let's not give him any more press than he deserves. We'll say age or rage or stage or gauge, whatever. It doesn't matter. H. We'll say age.
At this point in the beef, Eminem released his second studio album, the Slim Shady LP, and took multiple shots at Cage throughout. On top of these disses, he also dissed Cage on a Tony Touch mixtape, meaning Cage had been hit multiple times from Eminem without response. Cage finally responded with a short snippet of a song titled Lady, which appeared on a promo tape but has never been fully released to this very day. However, the snippet still takes a few strong shots at Eminem and even includes a skit of Eminem being jumped by Cage. Outside of Eminem responding on another radio show, Eminem was done with the entire Cage beef at that point, but Cage wasn't done yet. Cage dropped another diss track titled "And So Kitties," and a short diss to Eminem on the track "Detox" with fellow rapper Yak Balls. Eminem still ignored the beef as he was gearing up to release the Marshall Mathers LP, but Cage was steady and consistently dropped subtle jabs at Eminem over numerous tracks. Too many to name here. But he randomly seemed to roll back on some of these disses in a magazine interview, straight up admitting he owned Eminem's new album and liked it, and seemingly said he's happy for what Eminem has done. He also basically said he wasn't trying to make the beef serious and was more like doing it for the love of the game. Cage took several more jabs at Eminem past this, but after the release of his 2002 album, Movie for the Blind, he stopped talking about Eminem altogether. Eminem's beef with Cage is an interesting one, as the beef was going prior to Eminem's fame, and since most of the people listening had no idea who Cage was, this beef was a lot of people's first introduction to Cage. To this day, you'll find videos and expose pieces talking about Eminem and Cage and claiming Eminem stole Cage's entire persona. But honestly, I think it's best for you to decide that for yourself. Still, Cage will go down as one of Eminem's most obscure rap beefs, as even the people who are aware of the beef don't always understand just how deep it goes. The Eminem Show Lunchbox. Throughout both icebergs, I've discussed several pieces which could be valuable for anyone's Eminem collection. However, most of these items are CDs and cassettes, so I wanted to take an opportunity to discuss one piece of merchandise which is easily one of the best pieces money can buy. There's this rare Eminem Show lunchbox you can find, which also includes an Eminem Show branded thermos. There's even a blue variant you can find, and that one seems even rarer. It makes me laugh thinking about some young kid using this as his lunchbox and getting dirty looks from old stupid teachers. MC Hammer vs. Vanilla Ice. MC Hammer vs. Vanilla Ice is a song which was leaked by House of Wax on one of those fake cassettes we talked about on the first entry of this iceberg. The song features Eminem and Proof parodying rappers Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer, spoofing both of their styles while going back and forth. Now listen, there are tons of songs from these two tapes which are just as obscure. However, this song specifically is pretty special since it's Eminem and Proof just kind of fooling around and having fun together before either of their careers had started. And it gives you a small peek into their friendship prior to all the fame. The Riddlebox Release Party. Eminem's beef with fellow Detroit-based rap crew Insane Clown Posse is easily one of his most recognizable beefs. We discussed how the beef started on the original Iceberg, and we learned that before there was ever a beef between them, Eminem was actually a fan of ICP. And there's this early rumor that's been floating around online for a while that Eminem was in attendance of one of their early album release parties for their third studio album, Riddlebox, in 1995. And before you disregard this idea, it's important to understand that ICP is huge in Detroit to this day. But the 90s were the golden age of Juggalo culture, and ICP was easily one of the biggest acts in that city during that era. So it's not improbable Eminem would go to that release party. This idea only seems more probable when you realize that Proof, Eminem's best friend, actually performed at that release party. And you can find video of Proof's performance online, and people have said that you can actually see Eminem in the background. However, the video is too low quality to confirm this, thus making it unknown if he did or didn't attend that party. It's an interesting thing to think about, as Eminem and ICP's beef wouldn't have began for a few years after this party. This also wouldn't have been the only time he would have interacted with future Juggalo crowds, as we're going to discuss another time like this in the final tier of this iceberg, The Bushman. The Bushman Show is a legendary Detroit-based show hosted by The Bushman. The show's been running for 30 years and has become one of the greatest Detroit-based radio shows and arguably the best Detroit-based radio show. The Bushman would showcase tons of Detroit MCs, one of which was Eminem, starting all the way back in 1996. Even before the Slim Shady EP, the Bushman was rocking with Eminem. Bushman allowed Eminem on air multiple times, and there's even this promo rap Eminem made for the Bushman Show. After M became famous, he didn't forget about the Bushman and continued doing a show, as well as giving him a cameo in the movie 8 Mile, practically playing himself. The Bushman is still going strong to this very day, with Eminem even taking some time out to make a short video congratulating the Bushman for 29 years of the Bushman Show. What Color is Soul? What Color is Soul is a track created by Detroit MC Champtown, which features not only Eminem, but also the infamous Chaos Kid. So back on part 1 of this iceberg, we discussed Chaos Kid, who was an early friend of Eminem who lost contact with M during his rise to stardom. And as a result, Chaos Kid was the guy behind those old racist Eminem recordings getting leaked to the source. Chaos Kid took his own life in 2011, and Eminem has never addressed the situation to this very day. Now, it's important to understand that Eminem and Chaos Kid were really close friends in the early 90s, yet there's never really been much documented proof that they were friends at all, outside of the fact that they were in the same rap group. However, one piece of evidence proving their friendship is this track with Champtown. Champtown has gone on record as saying this was Eminem's first time ever recording in a professional studio, and even has footage of that day which he included in his documentary, The Untold Story of Detroit Hip Hop. The song was meant for Champtown's debut project, but was instead included on the 1999 album with a name I'm not allowed to say in this video. The fact that this song was Eminem's first taste of professionalism, as well as the fact that it was with two of his biggest enemies in his entire career, makes What Color is Soul a very interesting listen. Fuzz Scoota. With the final entry in Tier 9, we have a rapper who goes by Fuzz Scoota. Fuzz is a Detroit-based rapper who was very close with Eminem and D12 during their early years. Since Fuzz was good friends with D12 and Eminem, he landed a few notable features with them, one of which was the track Trife Thieves from Bizarre's 1998 EP Attack of the Weirdos, which also just so happened to feature Eminem. On top of that, Fuzz had a second Eminem collaboration as he was included on the track No One's Iller from the 1997 Slim Shady EP. Fuzz was even said to be one of the earliest members of D12 at one point, so yeah, he was close to the crew. However, Fuzz had some sort of falling out with Bizarre and Proof, and as a result, dropped a diss track in 1999. This track is called FUZZ and takes shots at Bizarre, Eminem, and Proof, with Fuzz claiming he even got with Proof's woman. Proof responded back with his track Life, which was produced by Jay Dilla, which doesn't add anything to the story, but it's cool Jay Dilla was involved in Eminem stuff. Anyway, the beef settled down after this for several years, and Fuzz was never seen in the mainstream eye ever again, but he did keep it rockin' as an artist. However, out of seemingly nowhere, D12 started trying to get the ball rolling again in the early 2010s, as they randomly posted a video announcing that D12 had a brand new member. This member was Fuzz Scoota. The video featured some bars from Fuzz, and on the following D12 mixtape, Return of the Dozen 2, Fuzz had several verses throughout the project. The story doesn't end there though, as only a short time later, Fuzz started bashing Eminem and the Bad Meets Evil project in a series of tweets which have since been removed but can still be seen somewhat through people's old quote tweets. Fuzz then started talking about how those tweets got him kicked out of D12, and in the years since has posted an alleged conversation he had with Bizarre. Now, Fuzz claims that Bizarre tried to get him to delete the tweets, and then tried to lie to Eminem saying that Fuzz got hacked. However, the story doesn't sound real in the slightest, especially the part where Fuzz claims that Bizarre said Eminem sees him as a threat. Alas, Kaniva confirmed in 2015 that Fuzz was no longer a member of D12. And that was that. Fuzz has gone on to say some pretty wild shit about Eminem since leaving the group, including this insane tweet about Haley from 2018. Fuzz has more or less disappeared from music, at least from what I could find. I usually like to say how my entries on these icebergs are going to be remembered, but honestly, I don't think Fuzz is going to be remembered. I think this iceberg entry is going to be his biggest legacy. And in no way am I trying to say that this iceberg is culturally important. If anything, I'm trying to paint just how small his legacy actually is. And here we are, the final tier of this entire iceberg trilogy. This tier is the true bottom of the barrel knowledge about Eminem and features 15 of the most obscure topics about Slim Shady that you can find. Before we start, I want to say one more quick thank you to everyone who's joined me across all 3 videos. You guys mean the world to me, and I truly do say thank you. Enough of this corny stuff though. It's time to venture into the deepest abyss of this iceberg. Microphone autopsy. So around 1997, an obscure rap crew from Detroit named the Indigenous Tribe released an EP titled As of Light into Darkness. This EP featured 4 tracks, one of which was titled Microphone Autopsy. Now, this song has been archived and online for a long time and is often incorrectly named Drastic Measures, and in my opinion, this track is the most obscure officially released Eminem song ever. That's because there's little to no information you can find about this EP or the indigenous tribe. Their Discogs page has some scans of this EP, but other than that, I got nothing. It's not clear to me how this collaboration came to be, nor how the EP was officially sold. So, if you have any more information about this one, make sure to comment down below letting me know. The Lost Infinite Snippet Tape. Infinite was Eminem's first album, released in 1996 under the Web Entertainment label. Infinite was an incredibly small release, with only 500 to 1,000 copies of the album ever being pressed in total. The small quantity of physical media for Infinite, mixed with the fact that this was Eminem's first official studio album, has made these releases sell for insanely high price points. And this album has become one of the most sought after physical releases in all of hip hop. However, what's even rarer is the snippet tape for Infinite, which is said to have been released sometime prior to the album's release. This tape featured snippets of songs you'd hear on the upcoming Infinite album and was given away as promotion. However, barely anything about this tape is known, and there's only ever been a handful of pictures of the tape you can find. The snippet tape is also said to include a handful of tracks which weren't included on Infinite. These tracks were Broke Day, Run Your Jewels, and Dirty Dozen. Now, the snippets for Broke Day and Run Your Jewels have both been leaked online, while Dirty Dozen's snippet has never been archived. This tape has become the holy grail for Eminem collectors. However, the limited information you can find, mixed with the fact it's never been acknowledged by anyone involved in the release of Infinite, makes this release not only lost media, but technically unconfirmed media. Hopefully one day, the entire tape will be archived in its entirety. He opened for Twiztid. So, Twiztid is a Detroit-based rap group best known for their connection to the Insane Clown Posse, where basically Twiztid was ICP's right-hand band. And Twiztid was involved in basically everything ICP ever did. Featuring members Jamie Madrox and Monoxide, Twiztid released numerous albums and projects on ICP's label, Psychopathic Records, and had an entire fanbase consisting mostly of juggalos. But don't let the fact that they relied heavily on ICP fool you into thinking Twiztid doesn't have their own history in rap music, as throughout the 90s, Madrox and Monoxide were members of a rap group named House of Crazies, alongside fellow rapper The ROC. For several years, House of Crazies made a name for themselves in the Detroit horrorcore scene and sold pretty well in terms of a small-time rap group. They did so well, in fact, that a young Eminem paid to open for one of their concerts in 1997. Now, the video of Eminem's performance, which took place at the legendary St. Andrews Hall, can be found online, and it's pretty crazy to think about once you consider how involved Twiztid were in Eminem's beef with ICP. We've talked about that beef a lot throughout these Iceberg videos, so I won't go too much into depth. But one of the main things about the beef was ICP creating the track Slim Anus, which parodied My Name Is, and included someone doing an impression of Eminem rapping lyrics which made him out to be a homosexual. Well, the person who did that Eminem impression for that song is none other than Jamie Madrox. Violent J of ICP even made reference to Eminem opening for House of Crazies on the Nothing But a Thing diss track. However, I've never seen Twiztid talk about it, but they have gone on to say that they tried to get Eminem signed to Psychopathic early on in his career, and I want you to just imagine the timeline where Eminem dropped an album on Psychopathic Records. It's just weird to think about. Go to Church. Go to Church is a classic track from California native rap actor Ice Cube, which features Snoop Dogg and Lil Jon. The track is really good and probably my favorite track from Ice Cube. However, if you were to look up the song on ASCAP.com, you'll see that Eminem is credited as an artist on the song. Now, ASCAP is a pretty hard organization to explain in short, but they're a company which ensures that artists are paid when their music is used publicly, and as such, they have all the legal mumbo-jumbo for a plethora of songs. So, Eminem being listed as the performer on this track suggests that there is an alternate version of Go to Church which features Eminem, yet that track has never been released. Outside of this one single listing, the Eminem version hasn't been mentioned anywhere else online. It remains as Eminem Lost Media. Also, big shout out to Kaiser Source for putting together a lot of the information for a lot of these lost songs. And he's even created a great iceberg on Eminem Media, which I've used for a lot of these topics. Thanks again, Kaiser. I'll see you on Discord. Proof Beef. As it's been said multiple times throughout this Iceberg trilogy, Proof was Eminem's best friend all the way up until his passing in 2006. Eminem and Proof were as close as two people can be, with Eminem memorializing his fallen friend consistently throughout his music. Knowing all that, it may surprise you to learn that Eminem and Proof had somewhat of a beef prior to Eminem getting his first record deal in 1998. Eminem and Proof discussed their beef in a short interview, basically only saying that they started speaking following Eminem getting signed, but they didn't actually clarify why the beef was ever started. Now, a member on my Discord server named Jerry found an old forum post where a user claimed to have transcripts from an old AOL chat room all the way back in 1998. And it was kind of a cool Q&A session between Eminem and his fans. And amongst these chats, Eminem took a few shots at Proof, even straight up saying, "Fuck Proof." Now obviously, it's hard to prove that Eminem was really the person who wrote these messages. However, the person who was claiming to be Eminem in this chat room knew intimate details about Eminem's life which no one else knew at that time. So I personally think it's safe to say that Eminem sent these messages. However, even with these messages, there's never been much information on Eminem and Proof beefing. It's been speculated that it was due to Eminem leaving Detroit to go be a big solo rap star celebrity guy while Proof was still in Detroit. And I've also seen it speculated that it had something to do with Proof beefing with Eminem's manager Paul Rosenberg, and Proof has taken shots at Paul throughout his music, so it's a good theory. It's also been theorized that the D12 track How Come was Eminem and Proof addressing each other with their verses. And once you go back and listen to the track, it's actually not a bad theory. However, take all these thoughts with a grain of salt since it's all just speculation. If only I could turn off the sun. Chaos Kid is somebody we've discussed throughout all these videos. And as you know, he too was a rapper. And in the early 90s, Chaos Kid released his very own solo EP, titled, "If Only I Could Turn Off the Sun, I Would Show You a Brighter Day." The mixtape featured 4 tracks with conceptual corrections featuring a small appearance from Eminem. The EP itself is about as obscure as they come, yet you can still find full digital scans of the cassette, as well as the entire EP on YouTube. But I wanted to take this chance to point out that even though Chaos Kid attempted to expose Eminem as racist by selling Foolish Pride to the source, Chaos Kid himself says the N-word on the opening track of this EP, Bloody Fingers. Okay, so there's this mysterious rapper named IQ who was a rapper from Detroit in the 90s. IQ was friends with the D12 camp and was an original member of the group. IQ was also good friends with Eminem and as such, got a few official Eminem features on Infinite. However, despite all this, IQ randomly disappeared from the game and has practically been missing from the public eye ever since. It's been rumored in 1995, IQ released an EP titled I Bees the Q, and this EP is said to have featured Eminem on a track titled Bloody Fingers. Now, this song and this entire EP for that matter are unconfirmed media and there's no proof that it ever actually existed. All in all, there isn't much you can find out there on IQ either. As of right now, Bloody Fingers is true Eminem Lost Wave and is the holy grail of Eminem Lost media in my opinion. Alternate Fight Music music video. Fight Music is a classic D12 track which has become one of the most popular songs to come from the group, and as such, there was a music video for Fight Music which also was very popular. However, when the D12 YouTube channel uploaded the music videos, they only ever uploaded clean versions of the track. Now, you can find explicit versions of the video online, but as far as I could tell, these videos are fan-made and was just some guy taking the explicit song and putting it over the video themselves. So that begs the question, was there ever an official explicit music video release for Fight Music? Well, one YouTuber made an interesting discovery while trying to answer that question. YouTuber Jeff Markham found a so-called explicit Fight Music music video on Dailymotion. But what's more interesting is the version he found is actually a different music video altogether. It's the same story and all that, but there are completely new clips and new cuts throughout the entire video. The discovery was posted on the Wikipedia page for Fight Music and has gone largely unnoticed by the Eminem community, so I figured I'd show it off here. Still, I'm not 100% clear if this was the official version of the Dirty Fight Music video, so you guys look into this and let me know. Other versions of Talkin' to Myself. Okay, so this entry kind of goes all over the place, but I'm going to try my best. Talkin' to Myself is a classic track from Eminem's Recovery album, and is quite simply an all-around great song. However, there's another song which uses the exact same beat and features the exact same hook, released by Mike Rashad, aka Sync. This version also has its own music video, and to the untrained eye, it seems like the classic story of an unknown rapper taking a beat from a much more popular song and remixing it. However, that's not the case here. Sync released his version in early 2009, over a full year prior to the release of Recovery. And if that's not enough for you, there's another song from the rap group Strong Arm Steady, which also featured the exact same beat and hook. And this version was said to have been created in 2007. So how exactly did this beat make it into other artists' hands before Eminem? Well, the best bet is that it all has to do with the man who created the beats, DJ Khalil. DJ Khalil is a Los Angeles-based DJ and producer who has some legit clout to his name. Khalil worked closely with many artists after connecting with Dr. Dre at a very young age, which would explain the connection to Eminem. As for Strong Arm Steady, it's really simple how they got the beat. DJ Khalil was a former member of the group. As for Sync, I can't really explain how he got the beat, but it's probably as simple as he got the beat from Khalil. I even found some small mentions of Cassius having a version of the song too, so it seems as if multiple rappers got this song before Eminem ever did. However, the beat now officially belongs to Eminem. Also, I think it's pronounced Chinkway instead of Sync, but if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm a dumb American, so cut me some slack. Crazy Home Escapist. Throughout this entire series, we took a lot of time to talk about Detroit legend Champtown. Champtown is credited for giving Eminem his first taste of professional recording with the track What Color Is Soul. He's also credited as giving Eminem his first appearance in a music video, as Eminem had a few small blink and you miss it appearances in his video for his track Do Da Dippity. Well, Do Da Dippity was originally created for the album Crazy Home Escapist, which was intended to be released in 1992. And according to Champtown, Eminem actually created the cover art for the album. The album itself was set to include What Color Is Soul and multiple other Champtown tracks. However, for whatever reason, this album was never released. In fact, it's never been released to this day. Now, the reason behind the album never coming out has never been made clear, and I even asked Champtown himself, but I didn't get a clear response. Some people have said that Eminem blocked the album from coming out himself following his success, but Champtown himself responded to this in the comments of one of his albums on Discogs, claiming that this idea was false. The story of Crazy Home Escapist is an interesting one, and I can confirm that Champ does in fact still have the album. So maybe one day we'll hear what that project would have sounded like in its entirety. The original Haley Song. Haley's Song is a classic track from the Eminem Show, which features Eminem singing a song for his daughter. The song is Eminem's best singing track, but one piece of information that isn't well known is that the original version was built around an entirely different instrumental. Haley's Song was originally built around the Beatles song While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Eminem stated in a Rolling Stone interview that George Harrison listened to the song and actually liked it. But for whatever reason, his wife had the final say on clearing the sample to be used for the song. And she declined to do so, meaning Eminem had to rework the beat entirely. YouTuber Divine Dougie posted a video in 2020 and was able to rework the acapella version of the song to actually be able to hear bits of the original instrumental. Divine was able to process the song in such a way that you could actually hear the original instrumental throughout the song, giving us a small glimpse into what the original version might have sounded like. Divine's discovery is just one example of the lengths fans have gone through to find hidden tidbits throughout Eminem's music, and for that, I commend you, Divine. 8 Mile's horse scene. This might just be the weirdest fact in this entire Iceberg trilogy. 8 Mile is the classic 2002 movie and doesn't really need any more description because you've already seen it. However, there's this unknown fact about a deleted scene from the movie, which featured Eminem with a horse. Eminem touched on this scene in his book, The Way I Am, saying the following: I fought tooth and nail and won to get this scene with this horse out of the fucking movie because it made no sense whatsoever. Jimmy gets in a fight with his mother and takes his little sister next door to the babysitter, and then he sits down and starts crying, just thinking about his life and how fucked up everything is. But then he turns around and, get this, he sees a horse, as in one of those horses the cops ride through the city in. He sees this horse in a junkyard and he doesn't know why it's there. He walks up and starts petting it. Now, there's something about horses and the way they throw their heads up. They jerk their heads around out of fucking nowhere. Curtis kept telling me to grab the reins and pet it. But the horse was doing this crazy head-jerking movement, and I thought, any minute this motherfucker's gonna lift his head up and bust my fucking jaw and knock me the fuck out. Horses and me, we don't get on too well. I wouldn't with a horse. If a horse dissed me, I wouldn't say anything back. Eminem hates Poland. There's this really old urban legend in the country of Poland that Eminem hates Polish people. More specifically, Polish people who believe in Judaism. The legend goes that Eminem once did an interview which was then translated into Polish, and in that Polish interview, it quoted Eminem as saying he hates Polish Jews. And as you might have guessed, Polish people were not very happy with that statement. However, it was quickly realized that Eminem was the victim of an incorrect translation and actually said something along the lines of, "I hate careerists," which somehow translated to that Polish thing. I won't pretend to understand how that translation could happen, but there's posts you can find online of Polish people discussing Eminem's feelings on Poland. Here's the thing though, I cannot find any of the source material for this. I can't find the translated Polish interview, I can't find the original interview, and I can't find any proof that this interview ever actually took place. But there's still a good amount of Polish people who have kept the urban legend alive, and there's a good bit of people who probably still believe Eminem hates Poland. There was even some Polish textbook which took shots at Eminem, making some small-time news stations around Poland in the process. The Polish rumors have even expanded, with some rumors saying Eminem has burned a Polish flag, vomited on a flag, and wished horrible things on Polish people. But again, there are no sources I could find for any of this online. Eminem versus Poland doesn't seem to be taken too seriously, or is even really known about by anyone outside of Poland. And honestly, it doesn't seem like a big deal in Poland either. But it's important to know because there's some Polish guy out there who firmly believes Eminem is a racist anti-Semite, solely because of this rumor. Also, shout out to this dude on my Discord for telling me about the Poland stuff. Agnes. Well, bringing up this topic has officially cut off any chance I might have had with working with anybody from Interscope or Shady Records. But make sure to listen to this entire topic, as this entire accusation comes with absolutely no evidence from a non-credible source. So earlier we discussed Shady Bizzness, the book written by Eminem's former bodyguard Byron Williams, aka Big Naz. As stated before, the book is supposed to be this gossipy expose about Big Naz's life as Eminem's bodyguard, while revealing plenty of personal details throughout. Now, some of the things Big Naz talks about in this book are pretty intimate, and some are downright damning of Eminem. But no accusation in this book tops the accusations about Eminem's supposed relationship with a young woman named Agnes. Now, before I continue, let me reiterate that Big Naz was an employee who was let go by the Shady team on really bad terms after only working for 6 months. So he would have plenty of reasons to lie about this entire situation. Additionally, his book was self-published, meaning it didn't have to pass any sort of credibility requirements or anything like that. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Anyway, according to Big Naz, while they were in Stockholm on a press tour back in 1999, Eminem supposedly met a young woman by the name of Agnes. Eminem and the girl became intimate with one another, and Eminem liked her so much he wanted her to travel with him throughout the tour. However, Big Naz claims that when they went to get a ticket for her, they discovered she was only 15 years old. Big Naz then claims that despite this, Eminem later continued seeing her, to the point where Agnes's mother even got involved. Now again, this entire story sounds like a load of shit coming from a guy who wanted to take down Eminem due to getting axed from the team. But I wanted to tell the story first so it gets told with the proper context. As far as I could tell, Eminem has never responded to the Agnes allegations, and the only response from the Eminem team about the book basically called it a load of shit. And full disclosure, that's what I think too. And finally, Slim Sellout. With the final entry in this series, we have Slim Sellout. Slim Sellout is a diss track aimed at Eminem from a rapper named Kyle Spratt, which involved Kyle making things very personal with Eminem by literally stealing from Eminem's ex-wife, Kim, and then literally stalking the rapper, becoming Eminem's real-life version of Stan. Slim Sellout was so intense that 2 separate police departments had to get involved in order to get Kyle to stop. Now originally, I was going to make this just another entry on this iceberg, but the story behind Slim Sellout is so fascinating, I decided to give it its very own video, which you can watch right here. And trust me, the entire story is insane and you don't want to miss it. While you consider watching that video, I wanted to thank my $1 a month patrons as well as everyone who took the time to watch this entire Iceberg trilogy. Please consider subscribing as it helps me out a lot, and as always, remember, Kobe sucks.